They say you never forget how to save a life, that the training, the instincts, the thousands of hours learning to read a body's distress signals, they stay with you even when everything else is stripped away. Your medical license, your reputation, your career, your identity. All of it can be taken from you in a single moment when you dare to tell the truth. But the ability to recognize when someone is dying, that never leaves. My name is Dr. Sarah Mitchell. At least it used to be doctor. For the past 2 years, I've just been Sarah. Sarah the janitor. Sarah who mops floors and empties trash at corporate events for $12 an hour. Not Dr. Mitchell, who spent 15 years as a trauma surgeon. Not the physician who performed over 3,000 successful surgeries, but not the doctor who saved countless lives in emergency rooms across 3 hospitals. Just Sarah. Invisible Sarah. The help. People don't see you when you're wearing a janitor's uniform. They walk past you like you're furniture. They say things, cruel things, honest things, illegal things, because they genuinely forget you're human, that you can hear them, that you have a history, a story, skills that could save their life. On Thanksgiving Day, 2024, I was working a private party for Richard Hale, a billionaire real estate developer who throws an annual charity event. 300 guests, black tie, $20,000 a plate donations to his foundation, champagne towers, imported caviar, excess wrapped in the language of giving. I was there to clean up after them, to be invisible while they celebrated their generosity. Richard Hale didn't know that 3 days before his party, I'd won my legal battle, that my medical license had been fully restored, that Dr. Sarah Mitchell officially existed again. I hadn't told anyone yet, not even my daughter. I was waiting for the right moment. I didn't know the right moment would come when Richard Hale collapsed at his own party, his heart failing, surrounded by 300 wealthy guests, and not a single person who knew how to save him, except me, the janitor he'd humiliated 30 minutes earlier, the woman he'd mocked in front of his guests, the uneducated help he'd dismissed as beneath his notice. But here's the thing about doctors. We take an oath. Primum non nocere. First, do no harm. It doesn't say, first, do no harm unless they're cruel to you. It doesn't say save lives except for people who deserve to die. It just says save lives. So when Richard Hale's heart stopped beating at his Thanksgiving party and everyone around him froze in panic, I had a choice to make. Let him die and let karma take its course. Or save the man who'd spent the evening treating me like I was less than human. This is the story of what I chose and why it changed everything. Okay, so before I get into what happened next, if you're into these kinds of stories, hit subscribe. You'll thank me later when the plot twists start hitting. Thanksgiving morning started the way most mornings had for the past 2 years. 5:30 a.m. My alarm goes off in our small 2-bedroom apartment in Queens. I can hear Elena already awake in her room, probably studying. That girl inherited her father's dedication and my stubbornness. A dangerous combination. I made coffee in our small kitchen. The same kitchen where, 4 years ago, my husband Marcus and I would make breakfast together before our shifts at Metropolitan Hospital. He was a pediatrician. I was a trauma surgeon. We were the couple who met during a 36-hour shift and somehow made it work. Then he died. Sudden cardiac arrest at 42. Ironic, considering how this story ends. And 2 years after that, I lost my medical career. Not because I was a bad doctor, because I was a good one. I'd discovered that the hospital administrator was billing Medicare for procedures that were never performed, fraudulent charges totaling over $4 million. I reported it to the board. I followed protocol. I did everything right. The administrator had connections, money, power. Within a month, I was under investigation for supposedly falsifying patient records. The accusation was absurd, easily disproven, but the legal process is slow and expensive. My medical license was suspended pending the investigation. Hospitals won't hire you with a suspended license, not even as a nurse, not even as a medical assistant. But they will hire you to clean their bathrooms. So that's what I did. I took a job with a janitorial service, worked nights and weekends, kept Elena in her magnet school, paid lawyers to fight a battle that should never have happened. And 3 days ago, November 21st, 2024, I won. The investigation cleared me completely. The administrator was arrested. My license was restored with a formal apology from the medical board. Dr. Sarah Mitchell could practice medicine again. I just hadn't told anyone yet. Mom? Elena appeared in the kitchen doorway, already dressed, her pre-med textbook under her arm. You're working today? On Thanksgiving? The Hale party. Big event, big pay, time and a half for holidays. You shouldn't have to work on Thanksgiving. There was anger in her voice. Not at me, at the situation, at the injustice of a brilliant surgeon reduced to cleaning up after rich people. It's temporary, baby. Everything is temporary. Is it? She sat across from me, her dark eyes, so much like Marcus's, searching my face. Mom, it's been 2 years. The lawyers keep saying soon, but nothing changes. Maybe it's time to accept that I won. The words hung in the air. What? The case. I won. 3 days ago. My license is fully restored. Doctor said, Mitchell is back. Elena's face went through a dozen emotions in 3 seconds. Shock, joy, disbelief, relief, then anger. 3 days ago? Mom, why didn't you tell me? I wanted to be sure. I wanted to have a job offer in hand, not just the license. I didn't want to get your hopes up in case... In case what? In case you're actually a doctor again? In case our lives can go back to normal? Mom, this is good news. This is everything. I pulled her into a hug. She was taller than me now. When had that happened? I know, baby, I'm sorry. After everything we've been through, I needed to know it was real, that they couldn't take it away again. So why are you still working as a janitor? You should be celebrating. I need to finish this contract. 2 more weeks, then I'm done. I already have interviews scheduled at 3 hospitals for next week. Dr. Peters wrote me a recommendation. It's happening, Elena. It's really happening. She pulled back, wiped her eyes. So you're going to spend Thanksgiving mopping floors at some billionaire's party even though you're actually a doctor? For the last time, yes. Then never again. That's so backwards, it's almost poetic. She smiled despite the tears. Dad would have loved this. He always said you were too stubborn for your own good. Your father was one to talk. We sat there for a moment, both thinking about Marcus, about how he should be here, about how different life would be if he was. Elena, I want you to promise me something. What? When you become a doctor, and you will, remember this. Remember what it felt like to watch your mother be invisible. To see brilliant people dismissed because of circumstances, to know that the janitor might be a surgeon and the CEO might be an idiot. Remember that a person's title doesn't define their worth. I will, I promise, she squeezed my hand. Now go to your last Thanksgiving as a janitor. But Mom? Yeah? If anyone treats you badly tonight, remember you're a doctor. You're Dr. Sarah Mitchell, and you don't have to take anyone's crap anymore. I smiled. Noted. But as I put on my janitor's uniform that morning, navy blue, my name badge reading simply Sarah, I had no idea how prophetic my daughter's words would be, or how soon I'd need to remember exactly who I was. Because in 12 hours, a billionaire would humiliate me at his party, and 30 minutes after that, only I would have the skills to save his life. The universe has impeccable timing. The Hale estate in Greenwich, Connecticut was everything you'd expect from a billionaire trying to prove he's generous. 15,000 square feet, marble floors imported from Italy, a ballroom that could fit 200 people comfortably, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking manicured grounds that probably cost more to maintain than most people's houses. Richard Hale had made his fortune in real estate, buying undervalued properties, forcing out tenants, flipping for massive profits. Self-made man. American success story. The kind of billionaire who loved to remind everyone he started with nothing. The kind who'd forgotten what nothing felt like. His annual Thanksgiving charity gala was legendary, $20,000 a plate. All proceeds going to Hale Foundation for Urban Youth, which mostly seemed to fund buildings with his name on them. I arrived at 2 p.m. with the rest of the service staff, 12 janitors, 20 catering staff, 10 security guards. We entered through the service entrance, naturally. Can't have the help using the same doors as the guests. Carlos, the head caterer, gathered us for a briefing. Listen up. The Hales want perfection tonight. 300 guests, including senators, judges, Fortune 500 CEOs. You stay invisible. You clean quickly and quietly. You don't speak unless spoken to. And if you're spoken to, you say, yes, sir, or yes, ma'am, and nothing else. Got it? We all nodded. I'd done enough of these events to know the drill. Sarah, you're on the main ballroom and terrace. Keep the floors pristine, glasses cleared, restrooms spotless. Mrs. Hale specifically requested that the help be presentable but unobtrusive. So do your job and disappear. Understood. By 6 p.m., the guests started arriving. Black tie and designer gowns, jewelry that could fund a hospital wing, laughter that sounded like money. I moved through the ballroom with my cart, emptying champagne flutes, wiping spills, being invisible. And I was good at being invisible by now. 2 years of practice. But I also had a skill these people didn't know about. I was listening, observing. My medical training never turned off. I noticed Mrs. Hale was limping slightly, probably plantar fasciitis from those stilettos, would benefit from orthotics and physical therapy. I noticed Senator Brickman's hand tremor, early-stage Parkinson's, I'd bet my license on it, should see a neurologist. I noticed Richard Hale himself, holding court in the center of the room, his face slightly flushed, a sheen of sweat on his forehead despite the cool temperature. His left hand kept going to his chest in a gesture he probably thought was subtle. My medical brain cataloged it automatically. Possible cardiac distress, arrhythmia indicators, should be monitored. But I was the janitor, not his doctor. At 7 p.m., Richard Hale took the microphone for his annual speech. Friends, thank you for joining us on this Thanksgiving evening. As we gather to give thanks, I'm reminded of how blessed we are, how fortunate to have resources, opportunity, success. And with that success comes responsibility, the responsibility to give back to those less fortunate. The room applauded. I kept cleaning. The Hale Foundation has donated over $50 million to urban youth programs over the past decade. We've built community centers, funded scholarships, created opportunities for those who start with nothing, like I did. Because I remember what it's like to have nothing, to struggle, to fight for every opportunity. I had to suppress a bitter laugh. Richard Hale's father had owned 3 apartment buildings. He'd gone to private school. His nothing was middle-class comfort. But the room ate it up. Rich people love the narrative of the self-made billionaire. So tonight, as we feast and celebrate, let's remember those who serve us. He gestured vaguely toward the catering staff. The hard-working people who make evenings like this possible. Let's be grateful for... He stopped mid-sentence. His eyes had landed on me. I was in the corner, emptying a trash receptacle, trying to be invisible. You there? His voice cut across the room. The cleaning woman. Come here. My stomach dropped. The room went quiet. 300 pairs of eyes turned toward me. I walked over slowly, pushing my cart. Yes, sir? What's your name? Sarah, sir. Sarah, how long have you worked in janitorial services? I could feel where this was going. He wanted to make a point, to use me as an example of those less fortunate people he was so generous to help. 2 years, sir. And before that? What did you do before cleaning? The question hung in the air. I could tell the truth. I could say, I was a trauma surgeon. I spent 15 years saving lives until I was destroyed for being honest. But I was done explaining myself to people who wouldn't believe me anyway. I worked in healthcare, sir. Healthcare? He said it like I'd admitted to something. See, everyone? This is what I'm talking about. Sarah here worked in healthcare, probably as an aide or in administration, and now she's cleaning up after parties. This is why our foundation matters, to help people like Sarah get back on their feet. The room murmured sympathetically. Some people actually looked at me with pity. I felt my face burning. Actually, sir, I didn't... And Sarah, do you have children? Yes, sir, a daughter. She's 16. 16? And I'm sure you want her to have opportunities you didn't have, to go to college, to make something of herself. That's why tonight matters. That's why we give, so that the Sarahs of the world and their children have a chance. He turned back to the crowd, warming to his theme. This is the face of the American worker. Hardworking, dignified, just trying to make ends meet. And when we donate to the Hale Foundation, we're not just giving money, we're giving hope. We're giving... Excuse me, sir. My voice was quiet but clear. I need to correct something. He turned back to me, surprised. You could feel the room tense. The help wasn't supposed to interrupt. I didn't work as an aide in healthcare. I was a physician, a trauma surgeon, actually. And my daughter isn't trying to make something of herself. She's already brilliant. She's in a magnet school studying pre-med with a 4.0 GPA. She's going to be a doctor like both her parents were. The silence was deafening. Richard Hale's face went from surprise to irritation to something uglier. A doctor. His voice was flat, disbelieving. You're claiming you were a doctor. I'm not claiming anything, sir. I was stating a fact. I was a trauma surgeon for 15 years before what? Before you made mistakes? Before you lost your license? Before you failed? Before I was falsely accused of fraud for reporting Medicare corruption. I just won my case 3 days ago. My license was fully restored. The room was absolutely silent now. Margaret Hale, Richard's wife, whispered something to the woman next to her. Both looked at me like I was crazy. Richard Hale laughed, sharp, dismissive, cruel. Let me get this straight. You're telling my guests, that you're actually a doctor, but you're working as a janitor at my party, and we're supposed to believe this? I'm not asking you to believe anything, sir. You asked me a question, I answered honestly. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to get back to work. No, I don't think so. His voice got harder. I think you're a liar. I think you're embarrassed about your position in life and you're making up stories to feel important. And that's exactly the kind of dishonesty we're fighting against with our foundation. We help honest, hardworking people, not liars who disrespect the opportunities they're given. Sir, I'm not... Carlos! Richard shouted across the room. Carlos, come here. The head caterer rushed over, looking panicked. This woman, Sarah, is disruptive and inappropriate. I want her removed from the premises immediately. Don't pay her for tonight, and make sure your company knows she's not to work any of our events again. Carlos's face fell. He looked at me with genuine sympathy, but said, Yes, Mr. Hale, right away. Actually, I said quietly, I quit. I don't need this job anymore. And Mr. Hale? You might want to have your personal physician check your heart. Your symptoms suggest atrial fibrillation. The way you keep touching your chest, the facial flushing, the diaphoresis, you're having cardiac episodes. Probably stress-induced, exacerbated by alcohol and rich food. But it could become serious. You should be monitored. Richard Hale's face went purple with rage. Get out! Get this delusional woman out of my house now! 2 security guards approached. I held up my hands. I'm leaving. Enjoy your party, Mr. Hale, and happy Thanksgiving to you all. I walked out through the service entrance with whatever dignity I had left. Behind me, I heard the room erupt in conversation. Laughter. Can you believe that woman? How embarrassing. The delusion of some people. I was halfway to my car when I heard the scream. It came from inside the ballroom, high-pitched, terrified. Someone help! He's not breathing! Call 911! I stopped, closed my eyes, took a deep breath. Then I turned around and ran back toward the house. Because I'm a doctor, and doctors save lives, even when those lives belong to people who don't deserve saving. I ran back into the Hale estate through the same service entrance I'd been ordered out of 5 minutes earlier. The security guards tried to stop me. Ma'am, you can't. Someone's having a medical emergency. I'm a doctor. Move. Something in my voice, or maybe the look on my face, made them step aside. I burst into the ballroom. The scene was chaos. 300 wealthy guests crowded in a circle, everyone trying to see, no one knowing what to do, women screaming, men shouting conflicting instructions, phone cameras out. Naturally, because even in a crisis, some people's first instinct is to document. I pushed through the crowd. Move! Let me through! I'm a doctor! They parted, some reluctantly, some with relief. And there, in the center of the marble floor, was Richard Hale. Collapsed, face pale, not breathing. His wife Margaret was on her knees beside him, shaking his shoulder. Richard! Richard, wake up! Someone do something! I dropped to my knees beside him, my training taking over instantly. How long has he been down? I don't know, maybe 2 minutes? We were talking and he grabbed his chest and fell. I checked for a pulse. Weak, thread, barely there. No respirations. His lips were cyanotic, blue. Cardiac arrest. Someone call 911, I shouted. Tell them we need an ambulance for a male, late 50s, in cardiac arrest. Now. 3 people pulled out their phones. I tilted Richard's head back, checked his airway. Clear. Started compressions, hard, fast. 100 to 120 beats per minute. The Bee Gees' Stayin' Alive playing in my head. The rhythm every doctor learns for CPR. Ah, ha ha ha. Stayin' alive, push, 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 push. What are you doing? Margaret shrieked. You're hurting him! I'm trying to save his life. Everyone back up. Give us space. A man in a tuxedo pushed forward. Late 60s, expensive watch, holding a drink. I'm Dr. Peterson, Mr. Hale's personal physician. I'll take over from here. He reached for Richard. I didn't stop compressions. Are you board certified in emergency medicine? I'm a cardiologist. When was your last ACLS certification? I don't see how that's... Then step back. I'm running this code. Dr. Peterson's face flushed red. Who the hell do you think you are? You're the cleaning woman. I'm Dr. Sarah Mitchell, trauma surgeon, 15 years, over 3,000 surgeries. I've run more codes than you've had dinner parties. Now either help or get out of the way. 30 compressions. I leaned down, gave 2 rescue breaths. Richard's chest rose and fell. Good. Back to compressions. Does anyone have an AED? I shouted. Automated defibrillator? This house should have one. A security guard ran forward. In the gym. I'll get it. Fast. And someone find out where that ambulance is. I kept going. Compressions. Breaths. Compressions. Breaths. My arms were burning. CPR is exhausting, people don't realize. You're using every ounce of strength to manually pump someone's heart. But I'd done this hundreds of times. I could do it in my sleep. Ah, ha, ha, ha. Staying alive, staying alive. Is he going to die? Margaret sobbed. Please, you have to save him. I'm trying, I said between compressions. But I need that defibrillator. His heart is in VFib, ventricular fibrillation. It's quivering instead of beating. We need to shock it back into rhythm. The security guard ran back with the AED. Newer model. Thank God. Open it! Turn it on! I didn't stop compressions. He fumbled with the case. Someone help him! We don't have time! Carlos, the caterer, dropped beside the guard and took over. He opened the case, hit the power button. The automated voice started. Analyzing heart rhythm. Do not touch the patient. I pulled back, hands up. Everyone held their breath. Shock advised. Charging. Stand clear. Everyone back, I shouted. Don't touch him, clear! The AED delivered the shock. Richard's body jolted, his back arching off the floor. I checked his pulse. Nothing. Continuing CPR. I resumed compressions immediately. Dr. Peterson hovered nearby, useless, probably realizing that his country club medicine hadn't prepared him for a real emergency. The AED would analyze again in 2 minutes. I had to keep Richard's brain oxygenated until then. Push, 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 push. Come on, Richard, I muttered. Don't you dare die. Not after you humiliated me. You don't get to take the easy way out. The ambulance is 8 minutes away, someone shouted from the crowd. 8 minutes. In cardiac arrest, that's an eternity. Every minute without circulation reduces survival by 10%. We were already at 4 minutes since collapse. 2 minutes, the AED announced. I kept going. Compressions, breaths, compressions, breaths. My shoulders were screaming, my back ached, but I didn't stop, because this is what doctors do. We save lives even when it hurts, even when we're exhausted, even when the patient is an asshole who doesn't deserve our compassion. We save them anyway. Analyzing heart rhythm, do not touch the patient. I pulled back again. Everyone in the ballroom was silent now, watching, waiting. Shock advised, charging, stand clear. Clear, I shouted again. The AED shocked him a second time. I checked his pulse. There, weak but there. I put my fingers on his carotid artery, felt the beat, irregular but present. Then, a gasp, shallow but breathing. He's back, I said. He's got a pulse. He's breathing. The room erupted in gasps and sobs and relieved laughter. But I wasn't done. He's not stable yet. He needs advanced cardiac life support. Where's that ambulance? 5 minutes out, someone called. I turned Richard onto his side, recovery position, monitoring his breathing, his pulse, his color. His eyes fluttered open, unfocused, confused. Mr. Hale, can you hear me? Don't try to move. You had a cardiac arrest. You're okay now, but you need to stay still. The ambulance is coming. He looked at me, really looked at me. Recognition dawned slowly. You. His voice was barely a whisper. The janitor. The doctor, I corrected gently. I told you to get your heart checked. Margaret grabbed my arm, tears streaming down her face. Thank you, oh God, thank you. You saved his life. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. It's okay, sis. I'm just glad I was here. Dr. Peterson appeared, trying to reassert authority. I'll take it from here. I can monitor him until the paramedics. No. I didn't look away from Richard. I'm staying with him. He's my patient until we transfer care to the EMTs. That's protocol. But you're not. I'm a licensed physician, as of 3 days ago, fully reinstated. So yes, I am qualified, and I'm not leaving him. Carlos appeared at my shoulder with a blanket. For him. To prevent shock. I smiled at him. Thank you. I covered Richard with the blanket, kept monitoring his vitals by feel and observation. In the distance, sirens. The ambulance was close. I stayed on the floor beside Richard Hale, one hand on his wrist checking his pulse, until the paramedics burst through the doors with their equipment and their stretcher. Ma'am, we've got it from here. I'm Dr. Sarah Mitchell. Patient is 58-year-old male, witnessed cardiac arrest approximately 7 minutes ago. VFib on AED analysis, 2 shocks delivered, ROC achieved 3 minutes ago. He's breathing spontaneously now, but needs immediate cardiac workup and continuous monitoring. Probable underlying arrhythmia, possibly atrial fibrillation given the symptoms he presented earlier in the evening. The lead paramedic looked at me with professional respect. You got all that from 7 minutes of CPR? 15 years of trauma surgery, I pay attention. Hell of a job, doctor. We'll take him to Greenwich Hospital, cardiology unit. You want to ride along? I looked at Richard, then at Margaret, who was hovering nearby, terrified. Mrs. Hale should ride with you, but yes, I'll follow in my car. I want to make sure he's stable. As they loaded Richard onto the stretcher, he grabbed my hand. Wait. His voice was stronger now, still weak but determined. Don't leave. Please, I need to say, save your strength, Mr. Hale. We'll talk at the hospital. No, now, he coughed, wincing. I'm sorry for what I said, how I treated you. You were right, about everything, and you saved my life anyway. Why? I looked at this man who'd humiliated me in front of 300 people 30 minutes ago. This man whose life was in my hands. Because I'm a doctor, I said simply. And doctors save lives. It's what we do. The paramedics wheeled him toward the ambulance. I stood in the middle of the ballroom, my janitor's uniform stained with sweat, my arms aching, my heart pounding. 300 guests stared at me in absolute silence. Then someone started clapping, then another person. Then the whole room erupted in applause. I didn't stay to hear it. I walked out to my car and followed the ambulance to the hospital, because my work wasn't done yet. Greenwich Hospital's emergency department was familiar territory. I'd done a rotation here during my residency, back when dinosaurs roamed the earth and I thought saving lives would always be this simple. The paramedics wheeled Richard Hale straight into a trauma bay. Margaret followed, ghostly pale, clutching her phone. I parked and walked into the ER, my janitor's uniform getting me strange looks from the triage nurse. I'm Dr. Sarah Mitchell. I'm following the cardiac arrest patient that just came in, Richard Hale. I performed CPR at the scene and I'd like to speak with the attending. The nurse's eyes widened. You're the doctor who saved him? Dr. Peters said you might be coming. She's in with him now. Bay 3. Dr. Elizabeth Peters, my mentor, the woman who'd fought for my license when everyone else abandoned me. I walked to Bay 3 and stopped at the doorway. Dr. Peters was at Richard's bedside, reviewing the monitor readings, while 2 other doctors worked quickly, drawing blood, establishing better IV access, running an EKG. Vitals are stabilizing, but we need a full cardiac workup. Echo, stress test when he's stronger, probably a cardiac cath to check for blockages. Dr. Morrison, get cardiology down here stat. And someone page, she looked up and saw me. Sarah. The warmth in her voice made my throat tight. Dr. Peters. I heard what happened. The paramedics radioed ahead. They said you performed CPR for 7 minutes, got Rosk with an AED, and provided a perfect handoff report. Sarah, that's extraordinary work. I was just doing my job. As a janitor? Because that's what the paramedics said you were wearing. Dr. Peters smiled. I assume you're ready to tell people now. Tell people what? Margaret Hale had appeared beside me, her makeup streaked with tears. Dr. Peters looked at me, asking permission with her eyes. I nodded. Mrs. Hale, did you know that the woman who saved your husband's life tonight was working at your party as a janitor? Yes, I know, and we're so grateful. We're going to make a very generous donation to show our. She wasn't always a janitor, Dr. Peters continued. 2 years ago, Dr. Sarah Mitchell was one of the finest trauma surgeons on the East Coast. She lost her medical license because she had the courage to report Medicare fraud at her hospital. She was falsely accused, dragged through an 18-month legal battle, and forced to work menial jobs to support her teenage daughter while fighting to clear her name. Margaret's face went from confusion to horror. 3 days ago, Dr. Peters said, her license was fully restored with a formal apology. Dr. Mitchell is officially able to practice medicine again. She just hadn't told anyone yet. She was finishing out her janitorial contracts, being professional to the very end. And tonight, she saved your husband's life, the man who humiliated her in front of 300 guests and had her thrown out of his party. Margaret looked at me like she was seeing me for the first time. You're really a doctor. I tried to tell you, I said quietly. Oh my God, what we said to you, what Richard said. And you saved him anyway. Why? I was tired of that question. Because it's what doctors do. We save lives. We don't get to pick which lives. We save them all. Dr. Peters put her hand on my shoulder. Sarah, I know you're exhausted, but I could use your expertise. Mr. Hale's cardiac issues are complex. Would you consult on his case, officially? I looked at the monitor. Richard's rhythm was stabilizing but still showing irregularities. His blood pressure was low. His heart was struggling. What are you thinking? Underlying arrhythmia? Atrial fibrillation that progressed to ventricular fibrillation under stress. He's been having symptoms for months apparently. His wife says he kept dismissing it as heartburn. Typical. I stepped closer to the monitor, reading the EKG strip. Look at this. Prolonged QT interval, ST elevation in leads 2 and 3. He's got ischemic changes, possible LAD stenosis. He needs a cardiac catheterization tonight, not tomorrow. And someone needs to check his medication history. I'd bet he's on something that's contraindicated with his condition. A younger doctor, an intern probably, spoke up. How can you tell all that from one glance at the monitor? Dr. Peters smiled. Because Dr. Mitchell doesn't just read EKGs, she speaks their language. Sarah, this is Dr. Kumar, our new cardiology fellow. Dr. Kumar, you're watching a master at work. Pay attention. For the next hour, I worked with the team. We ran tests, analyzed results, adjusted medications. I consulted with the cardiologist who arrived to take over Richard's care, Dr. Yolanda Martinez, sharp and no-nonsense, exactly my kind of doctor. Dr. Mitchell, she said after reviewing my notes, this is excellent work. You've mapped out exactly what he needs. Where are you practicing now? Nowhere yet. My license was just restored. I'm interviewing. Are you interested in cardiothoracic? Because we have an opening. Pays excellent, hours are terrible, work is life or death every day. Sound good? I laughed, actually laughed. That sounds perfect. Great. Email me your CV. If tonight is any indication of your skills, you're hired. We need doctors who actually give a damn. By midnight, Richard was stable. Still in ICU, still being monitored, but out of immediate danger. He'd need surgery, cardiac ablation to correct the arrhythmia, possible stent placement depending on what the cath revealed. But he'd live. I stood outside his ICU room, watching the monitors through the glass. Margaret appeared beside me. Can I talk to you? Of course. I don't know how to apologize for tonight, for what Richard said, what we both implied, the way we treated you. She was crying again quietly. I keep playing it back in my head. You told us you were a doctor. You tried to warn Richard about his heart, and we laughed at you, called you a liar, had you thrown out. Then 30 minutes later, you were the only person who could save his life. It's like some kind of karma? I suggested gently. Divine intervention, punishment, I don't know. But you had every reason to walk away, to let him die, to feel vindicated. Instead, you ran back and saved him. I don't understand that kind of character, that kind of grace. I'm not graceful, Mrs. Hale. I'm a doctor. It's not about character. It's about training and oath and responsibility. When I see someone dying, I don't think about whether they deserve to be saved. I just see a patient who needs help. It's instinct at this point. But after how he treated you, after how he treated me, he still deserves medical care. Everyone does. That's not my decision to make. I don't get to play God. I just get to be a doctor. And doctors save lives, all lives, even the ones that belong to people who are cruel. Margaret nodded slowly. He's going to be different after this. I know Richard. This will change him, facing death. Being saved by someone he wronged, he's not going to forget this. Good. Maybe he'll be kinder to the next janitor at his party. Maybe he'll remember that titles don't define worth. That would be nice. More than nice. Necessary. She paused. Dr. Mitchell, I want to make this right. The foundation, our foundation. I want to reshape it. Focus on helping people who are wrongly accused like you were. Whistleblowers who lose their careers for doing the right thing. People who fall through the cracks of the legal system. Would you help me do that? Consult on it? I looked at her carefully. Was this genuine? Or wealthy guilt that would evaporate in a few weeks? Why don't we talk about it when Mr. Hale recovers? I said diplomatically. Right now, focus on being there for him. The next few days are critical. He needs you. He needs you. You're coming back tomorrow, aren't you? To check on him? Dr. Martinez is an excellent cardiologist. He's in good hands. But you saved his life. He's going to want to see you to thank you properly, please. I sighed. I'll stop by, but I'm not his doctor. Dr. Martinez is. I'm just a consultant who happened to be there. You're the reason he's alive. That makes you more than a consultant. I left the hospital at 1 a.m., exhausted, my janitor's uniform still on, my arm still aching from CPR. I sat in my car in the parking lot and called Elena. Mom, where are you? I've been texting for hours. I'm sorry, baby. Something happened tonight. Something big. I told her everything. The humiliation, the collapse, the CPR, the hospital, the job offer. She was silent for a long time. Mom, you saved the life of the man who humiliated you? Yes. That's the most doctor thing you've ever done. Dad would be so proud. I hope so. I'm proud too. And Mom, I'm glad you're a doctor again. I'm glad you don't have to be a janitor anymore. But I want you to know, I was never ashamed of you. Not once. Not when you were cleaning toilets. Not when people looked down on you. You were always Dr. Sarah Mitchell to me. Always. I cried in the parking lot of Greenwich Hospital, my daughter's words healing wounds I didn't know I still had. Thank you, baby. I needed to hear that. Now come home. You need sleep. And tomorrow, you get to go back to the hospital as a doctor, not a janitor. That's going to feel good. It already does. I drove home through empty streets, past houses where families were sleeping off their Thanksgiving dinners, and I thought, this was the strangest Thanksgiving of my life. I'd been humiliated, fired, and forced to save the life of the man who'd wronged me. And somehow, I'd ended up with a job offer, restored dignity, and proof that karma has impeccable timing. The universe works in mysterious ways. Sometimes it humbles you by taking everything, and sometimes it lifts you back up by giving you the chance to prove exactly who you are. Tonight, I'd proven I was still a doctor. Even when I was invisible, even when I was dismissed, even when no one was watching, I was always Dr. Sarah Mitchell, and tomorrow the world would remember that. I woke up on Friday morning to 47 missed calls and 132 text messages. Apparently, 300 guests with smartphones had documented Richard Hale's collapse and my response on social media. By morning, I was viral. Janitor reveals she's actually a doctor, saves billionaire's life. Woman humiliated at Thanksgiving party returns to perform CPR on man who mocked her. The doctor. They dismissed a story of karma and compassion. My phone wouldn't stop ringing. News outlets, morning shows, podcast producers, everyone wanted the story. I ignored them all. I had more important things to do. At 9 a.m., I walked into Greenwich Hospital, not in a janitor's uniform, in professional clothes, dress pants, blouse, my white coat that I'd kept in storage for 2 years, waiting for this moment. The staff at the nurse's station looked up. Dr. Mitchell, the head nurse smiled. Dr. Peters said you'd be coming. Welcome back. Thank you. How's Mr. Hale this morning? Stable, alert, asking for you, actually. Room 302. I walked to the ICU. The The door was open. Richard was sitting up in bed, looking remarkably good for someone who'd died 12 hours ago. Margaret sat beside him, holding his hand. They both looked up when I entered. "Dr. Mitchell." Richard's voice was hoarse but strong. "You came." "I said I would. How are you feeling?" "Like I got hit by a truck, but alive. Thanks to you." I checked his monitor readings. Heart rhythm better, blood pressure stabilizing. Good. "Your catheterization is scheduled for this afternoon. Dr. Martinez thinks you have a blockage in your left anterior descending artery. She'll place a stent, do the ablation to correct the arrhythmia. You should be home in a few days. And then? Then you follow up religiously, take your medications. Change your diet, reduce stress, stop drinking so much, exercise moderately, and listen to your doctor. All the things you should have been doing for years." Richard nodded slowly. "I've been an idiot. Medically speaking, yes." "Not just medically. Last night, He stopped, gathering himself. "I treated you abhorrently. I humiliated you in front of my guests. I mocked your credentials. I had you thrown out of my home. And you came back and saved my life anyway. I don't understand that kind of person, that kind of integrity. I'm a doctor. It's what we do." "No," Richard said firmly. "It's what you do. Most people would have walked away, would have felt justified in letting me die. You didn't. You ran back. You performed CPR for 7 minutes. You brought me back from death. Why?" I pulled up a chair, sat down. "Mr. Hale, 2 years ago, I lost everything. My career, my reputation, my income. I had to take a job cleaning toilets because I told the truth and powerful people didn't like it. I spent 18 months being invisible, being dismissed, being treated like I didn't matter. Do you know what that does to a person?" He shook his head. "It teaches you that titles are meaningless, that the janitor might be a genius and the CEO might be an idiot. That character isn't defined by what you do for work. It's defined by what you do when no one important is watching. So you saved me to teach me a lesson? No. I saved you because you were dying, and I had the skills to help. The lesson is what you take from it, what you do next, how you treat people going forward. That's not my decision. That's yours." Margaret spoke up. "We want to make this right, Bo. We've been talking this morning, the foundation, we're restructuring it completely, focusing on legal defense for whistleblowers, supporting people who've been wrongly accused, funding job training for people trying to rebuild their careers. We want to honor what you went through by helping others avoid it." "That would be good work," I said carefully. "We want you involved," Richard said, "on the board, helping us direct where the funds go, who to support. You understand what it's like, what people need. Will you do it?" I thought about it. About all the people like me, all the whistleblowers, all the truth-tellers who get punished for their integrity. "Yes, I'll help, but I won't be a token. I won't be the heartwarming story you parade out for donors. If I'm on the board, I have real authority, real say in where the money goes." "Deal?" "Deal," Richard said immediately. "And Dr. Mitchell, I owe you an apology that's bigger than I know how to give. What I said last night, about you being dishonest, about you disrespecting opportunities. I was everything I accused you of being. I was dishonest. I didn't respect the opportunity to be better, to be kind, to see you as a person instead of just help. I'm sorry. Deeply, genuinely sorry." "Apology accepted," I said. "Now focus on recovery. You've got a long road ahead." "Will you be part of it? My recovery, I mean. I know Dr. Martinez is my cardiologist, but I'm not a cardiologist, Mr. Hale. I'm a trauma surgeon, different specialty." "But you saved my life. That makes you my doctor in the way that matters most. I'll consult on your case, check in on you, make sure you're following orders. But Dr. Martinez is running your treatment. Trust her. She's excellent." "I will. And Dr. Mitchell, one more thing." "Yes?" "You told your daughter you wanted her to become a doctor, to have the opportunities you didn't have. I want to fund her education. Full ride, undergrad, med school, everything, no strings attached. It's the least I can do." I opened my mouth to refuse. Pride and independence and all the reasons why accepting charity from him felt wrong. Then I thought about Elena, about tuition bills I couldn't afford, about the sacrifices she'd made while I fought my legal battle. "Thank you," I said. "That's incredibly generous. Elena will be grateful." "It's not generous. It's right. Your daughter is brilliant. She deserves every opportunity, and someday she's going to be an incredible doctor, just like her mother." I stood to leave. "Dr. Mitchell?" Richard called after me. "Yes?" "Happy Thanksgiving. Better late than never." I smiled. "Happy Thanksgiving, Mr. Hale. Try not to die again. It's terrible for your health." By Friday afternoon, I couldn't leave my apartment without being recognized. The video had spread everywhere, not just social media, CNN, MSNBC, Good Morning America, NPR. Everyone wanted to tell the story of the janitor who was actually a doctor. Doctor saves life of man who humiliated her. Thanksgiving miracle. The physician they dismissed. Billionaire's cardiac arrest reveals janitor's secret identity. My phone never stopped. Interview requests, job offers, strangers sending messages of support, other whistleblowers telling me their stories. I ignored most of it, but Elena didn't. "Mom, have you seen Twitter? You're trending. Number 2. Right under Black Friday." "I'm not on Twitter." "Well, Twitter is on you. Look at this." She showed me her phone. Thousands of tweets. "At Real Medicine Doc. This is why you treat everyone with respect. The janitor might save your life." Had Dr. Sarah Mitchell. At Whistleblower. Advocate. Dr. Mitchell lost everything for telling the truth. She could have let him die. Instead, she saved him. That's character. #hero. At cardiac nurse. Life. 7 minutes of CPR is exhausting. Dr. Mitchell is an absolute badass. This is what doctors do. #respect. There were negative comments too, of course. There always are. She only saved him for the attention. Probably faked being a doctor. Anyone can do CPR. Why was she working as a janitor if she's really so great? I tried not to read those, but Elena couldn't stop. "Mom, these people are idiots. They don't know what you went through, what we went through." "They don't need to know, baby. Their opinions don't define me. I know who I am. You know who I am. That's what matters." But the story kept growing. By Saturday, major news outlets were doing deep dives into my case, investigating the hospital administrator who'd falsely accused me, reporting on the corruption I'd exposed, detailing the 18-month legal battle. Wrongful accusation, how Dr. Sarah Mitchell was destroyed for doing the right thing. Medicare fraud cover-up, the doctor who paid the price for honesty. The administrator who'd destroyed my career was arrested again, this time for additional charges. Witness intimidation, obstruction of justice, fraud, my lawyer called. "Sarah, you could sue, the hospital, the administrator, you'd win millions in damages. Compensation for lost wages, emotional distress, reputational harm. You have an airtight case." I thought about it. About revenge, about making them pay for what they'd done. Then I thought about Richard Hale, lying in a hospital bed, recovering from cardiac surgery, forever changed by a moment of mortality. "No lawsuit," I said. "I got what I wanted. My license back, my reputation restored, my name cleared. That's enough. I don't need their money. I need to move forward, not backward." "Sarah, that's incredibly gracious. But I deserve to practice medicine again, to be Dr. Mitchell again, to help people. That's what I want. The rest is just noise." My lawyer was quiet for a moment. "You're a better person than I am." "No, I'm just tired of fighting. And I want to teach my daughter that winning doesn't always mean destroying your enemies. Sometimes it just means surviving until you can thrive again." On Sunday, I returned to the hospital to check on Richard. He was sitting up in bed, eating hospital food without complaint, a good sign, and reading a newspaper. My face was on the front page. "Dr. Mitchell, you're famous." "I'm infamous. There's a difference." "Have you seen all the coverage, the think pieces, the analysis? Everyone's talking about whistleblower protections now, about how we treat healthcare workers, about invisible labor. You've started a conversation." "I didn't mean to start a conversation. I just wanted my life back." Sometimes the right action at the right moment changes everything. You saved my life. But you also shone a light on systemic problems that need fixing. That's powerful. I checked his vitals. Everything looked good. Heart rhythm stable, blood pressure normal, color back in his face. "How do you feel?" "Like I got a second chance I didn't deserve, and determined not to waste it." He set down the newspaper. "Dr. Mitchell, I've been doing a lot of thinking these past few days, about my life, my priorities, the person I've become, and I don't like what I see. Mortality does that. makes you reassess. It's more than that. You held my life in your hands. Literally. You kept my heart beating for 7 minutes with your bare hands. Do you know what that does to a person? To owe your entire existence to someone you wronged? You don't owe me anything, Mr. Hale. Yes, I do. I owe you everything. And I intend to spend whatever time I have left proving I learned something from this, that I'm capable of change, that second chances aren't wasted on me. Then be kind to the next janitor, I said simply. Remember their name, ask about their lives, treat them like humans with stories and dignity and worth. That's how you prove you've changed. Not grand gestures, small, consistent actions. I will. I promise. And Dr. Mitchell? Yes? Thank you, not just for saving my life, for teaching me how to live better. That's worth more than survival. By Monday, I had 11 job offers. Hospitals from Boston to Seattle, trauma surgery positions, competitive pay, sign-on bonuses. Everyone wanted the viral doctor who'd saved a billionaire's life. I chose Greenwich Hospital. Not because it was the best offer, it wasn't, but because Dr. B. Peters was there. Because Dr. Martinez was there. Because it felt like home. And because Richard Hale had offered to fund a new wing focused on treating uninsured patients. A place where doctors could practice medicine without worrying about who could pay. Where healthcare was a right, not a privilege. The Mitchell Wing, he wanted to call it. I said absolutely not. The Marcus Mitchell Memorial Wing was the compromise, named after my late husband, the pediatrician who'd believed healthcare should be free for children. Richard agreed immediately. On Tuesday morning, I put on my white coat for the first time in 2 years as an employed physician. Dr. Sarah Mitchell, trauma surgery, Greenwich Hospital. Elena took a picture. Dad would be so proud, she said, crying. He would, and he'd tell me to stop being sentimental and get to work. Patients don't save themselves. That's exactly what he'd say. I walked into Greenwich Hospital at 7 a.m. for my first official shift. The staff applauded when I entered. It was embarrassing. It was overwhelming. It was perfect. Dr. Peters met me at the nurses' station. Welcome back, Dr. Mitchell. Ready to save some lives? Always. Good. Trauma Bay 3, multiple vehicle accident, ETA 2 minutes, you're up. And just like that, I was back. Not the janitor, not the viral sensation, not the heartwarming story. Just Dr. Sarah Mitchell, trauma surgeon, doing exactly what I was meant to do, saving lives. 6 months after that Thanksgiving, I sat in my office at Greenwich Hospital reviewing patient charts. My office, not borrowed, not temporary, mine. It had a window, a desk. My diplomas on the wall, the ones I'd kept in storage for 2 years, waiting. A photo of Marcus and Elena on my desk, and a small framed quote someone had sent me after the story went viral. Character is how you treat someone who can do nothing for you. I didn't know who said it originally, but it was true. Richard Hale had tested that principle, and somehow, improbably, we'd both passed. He was doing well. 6 months post-surgery, following doctor's orders religiously, attending cardiac rehab, taking his medications, eating better. He'd lost 30 pounds, started meditating, stopped drinking. The brush with death had changed him. Really changed him. The Hale Foundation had been completely restructured. They'd funded legal defense for 17 whistleblowers in the past 6 months. Helped 12 people get their professional licenses reinstated, created a job training program for people rebuilding careers after wrongful termination, real work, not performative charity, real impact, and Margaret had become genuinely involved, not just writing checks, actually showing up, learning, listening to the people they were helping, understanding that charity isn't about feeling good, it's about doing good. Elena was thriving, junior year of high school, 4.0 GPA, volunteering at the hospital, already planning her pre-med coursework for college. And yes, Richard was funding her education, full scholarship, no strings. She'd been hesitant to accept at first. Mom, isn't it weird? Taking money from the guy who humiliated you? It would be weird if I hadn't saved his life. But I did, and he's trying to make amends. Let him. It's good for his soul, and it's good for your future. Don't let pride get in the way of opportunity. Are you sure? Elena, your father and I spent years dreaming about sending you to medical school, about you becoming the doctor we knew you could be. He's not here to make that happen, but we have the means now. Whether it comes from Richard Hale or somewhere else doesn't change what it means. You get to follow your dream. Take it. Honor your father's memory by becoming the physician he'd be proud of. She'd hugged me tight. Okay, I'll take it. And Mom, I'll make you both proud, I promise. You already have, baby. There was a knock on my office door. Dr. Mitchell, your 2 p.m. is here. Send them in. Richard Hale walked in looking healthier than I'd ever seen him, relaxed, at peace. Alive in a way that had nothing to do with heartbeats. Mr. Hale, this is a surprise. Is everything okay? Are you having symptoms? No, everything's fine. Dr. Martinez cleared me last week. Cardiac function is excellent. He smiled. I'm healthy. Can you believe that? First time I've been able to say that in years. That's wonderful. So what brings you by? I wanted to show you something and to ask you something. He handed me a folder. Inside were architectural plans, beautiful, detailed renderings of a building. The Marcus Mitchell Memorial Wing, I read aloud. Oh, Richard, this is gorgeous. It's not just a wing anymore. It's an entire facility. Free clinic attached to the hospital, serving uninsured patients, staffed by volunteer doctors and funded by the foundation. We break ground next month. It'll be operational by this time next year. I looked at the plans, treatment rooms, a small surgical suite, pediatric area, mental health services, dental clinic, everything. This is incredible. Marcus would have loved this. That's why I'm here. I want you on the board, helping direct how it operates, what services we offer, how we staff it, making sure it actually serves people instead of just making us feel good. Richard, I'm not an administrator. I'm a surgeon. You're a doctor who understands what it means to fall through the cracks, who knows what people need when the system fails them. That's who should run this place, not bureaucrats, doctors who've lived it. I thought about it. About all the people like me, like Marcus, like the patients we couldn't save because they couldn't afford treatment. Yes, I'll do it. But I want Elena involved too. She's volunteering here. She understands the need, and it'll teach her something medical school can't, how to build systems that actually help people. Perfect. She's already smarter than half the board anyway. We sat in comfortable silence for a moment. Dr. Mitchell, can I ask you something personal? Of course. Do you ever regret it? Saving my life? Do you ever wish you'd walked away? Let karma take its course? I'd been asked this question a lot in the past 6 months, by reporters, by colleagues, by strangers on the internet. Honestly, no, never, not even for a second. Even though I was cruel to you, even though I humiliated you? Richard, if I only saved people who deserved it, I wouldn't be a very good doctor. Medicine isn't about judgment. It's about skill and compassion and showing up when people need you. You needed me that night, so I showed up. It's that simple. It's not simple, it's extraordinary. Most people don't have that in them. Most people aren't doctors. We train for this. We take oaths. We commit ourselves to caring for everyone. That doesn't turn off because someone hurts our feelings. Still, I want you to know, that night changed everything for me. Not just surviving, but understanding what real character looks like, what integrity means. You could have been petty, vengeful, human. Instead, you were better. I was a doctor, that's all I was. Everything else is what you projected onto it. Maybe, but it still mattered. You still mattered, And I'm going to spend the rest of my second chance trying to be worthy of the life you saved. Just be kind, Richard, that's all. Be kind to people. See them. Value them. That's how you honor what happened. I will, every day. After he left, I sat at my desk looking at the architectural plans for the Marcus Mitchell Memorial Wing. A clinic that would serve thousands, built because a billionaire almost died, saved by a janitor who turned out to be a doctor. If you'd told me this story 6 months ago, I wouldn't have believed it. But that's the thing about life. It's stranger and more beautiful than anything we could imagine. That evening, I came home to find Elena cooking dinner. Fancy, I said. What's the occasion? No occasion. Just thought you deserved a nice meal. You've been working crazy hours. So have you. Between school and the hospital and your applications. Mom, I'm 17. I'm supposed to work crazy hours. You're 42. You're supposed to slow down. 42 is young. And doctors don't slow down. We're too stubborn. She laughed. Fair point. Oh, I got into Harvard's pre-med program. Early acceptance. I stopped, stared at her. Elena, that's incredible. When did you find out? This afternoon. I didn't want to text you while you were working. But yeah, Harvard. Full ride thanks to Mr. Hale's scholarship. I'm going to be a Harvard doctor, Mom. I pulled her into a hug, both of us crying. Your father would be losing his mind right now. He'd be telling everyone, the mailman, the grocery store clerk, random people on the subway. My daughter got into Harvard. He'd be impossible. I know I miss him so much. Me too, baby. Every day. But he's proud. Wherever he is, he's so proud of you. And of you. You lost everything and fought your way back. You saved a man who tried to destroy your dignity. You showed me what it means to be a doctor even when no one's watching. That's the best education I could get. Just don't become a janitor to learn humility. Once per family is enough. She laughed through her tears. Deal. But Mom, if I did, would you be disappointed? Never. I could never be disappointed in you. Janitor, doctor, anything in between, you're my daughter. You're brilliant and kind and exactly who you should be. The rest is just job titles. We ate dinner together, talked about her future, about college, about the clinic Richard was building, about the patients I'd seen that week. Normal conversation, normal life. The kind of normal I thought I'd never have again. 2 years ago, I was a trauma surgeon. Then I was a janitor. Now I was a trauma surgeon again. But I was also something more, someone who'd been invisible and remembered what that felt like. Someone who'd been dismissed and understood how much that hurt. Someone who'd lost everything and rebuilt from nothing. Those experiences didn't diminish me. They made me a better doctor. Because now when I see patients, all patients, regardless of who they are or what they do, I remember, titles are temporary, character is permanent, and the person cleaning your floors might be the person who saves your life. That's a lesson worth learning, even if it takes a cardiac arrest to teach it. 1 year after Richard Hale collapsed at his Thanksgiving party, the Marcus Mitchell Memorial Wing officially opened. It was a cold November morning, exactly 1 year to the day. We'd planned it that way, a full circle moment. The facility was beautiful, modern, welcoming, nothing like a typical free clinic. Richard had spared no expense. If we're going to do this, he'd said during planning meetings, we do it right. Dignified care for everyone, not charity that feels like punishment, health care that feels like health care. And he'd delivered. The Marcus Mitchell Memorial Wing had 15 examination rooms, a minor surgery suite, a dental clinic, mental health services, pediatric care, and a pharmacy that dispensed medications at cost. Staffed by volunteer doctors, nurses, and support staff who believed that healthcare was a right, not a privilege. We'd serve over 200 patients a day. Thousands per year, people without insurance, people who'd fallen through the cracks, people who'd been invisible, people like I'd been. The opening ceremony was scheduled for 10 a.m. I arrived early with Elena, both of us in white coats, hers borrowed from the hospital, mine earned through 15 years of training and 2 years of hell. Richard was already there, greeting guests, looking healthy, looking happy, looking like a completely different person than the man who'd collapsed a year ago. Margaret was there too, elegant and warm, no longer the trophy wife, but a genuine partner in the work. Dr. Peters, Dr. Martinez, Carlos the caterer who'd become an unlikely friend, Detective Santos who'd helped clear my name, my lawyer, my coworkers, and dozens of former patients, people I'd treated during my years as a surgeon, people who'd written letters supporting my license reinstatement, people who'd never forgotten Dr. Sarah Mitchell even when the system tried to erase her. Richard approached the podium to speak. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here. A year ago today, I died. The crowd went silent. I had a cardiac arrest at my Thanksgiving party. My heart stopped. I wasn't breathing. By every medical definition, I was dead. And if not for one person, one extraordinary person, I would still be dead. Dr. Sarah Mitchell saved my life, but the story is more complicated than that. And I think it's important to tell the whole truth. An hour before my heart stopped, I humiliated Dr. Mitchell in front of 300 guests. She was working at my party as a janitor, taking an honest job during the lowest point of her life. She tried to tell me she was a doctor. I didn't believe her. I called her a liar. I had her thrown out of my home. I mocked her in front of everyone. Then 30 minutes later, I collapsed. And the woman I'd just humiliated, the woman I'd dismissed as beneath my notice, ran back into my house and saved my life. She performed CPR for 7 minutes. She kept my brain oxygenated. She brought me back from death. She did this even though I'd been cruel, even though I didn't deserve her compassion. She did it because she's a doctor. And doctors save lives. All lives. Even the ones that belong to people who've been terrible. He paused, his voice getting thick with emotion. I stand here today because of Dr. Mitchell, but I also stand here changed. That night taught me something I should have learned long ago. That every person you meet has worth, and that titles don't define character. That the janitor might be a genius and the billionaire might be a fool. That how you treat people when they can do nothing for you, that's who you really are. I failed that test, spectacularly. But Dr. Mitchell gave me a second chance. And I've spent the past year trying to be worthy of it. This facility, the Marcus Mitchell Memorial Wing, is named after Dr. Mitchell's late husband, a pediatrician who believed healthcare should be free for children. He spent his career treating kids regardless of their ability to pay. He understood what I didn't, that healthcare is a human right, not a commodity. This clinic exists because one doctor showed compassion to someone who didn't deserve it. And now it will serve thousands of people every year who deserve compassion but can't afford care. Dr. Mitchell, would you come up here? I walked to the podium, surprised. I hadn't prepared a speech. Dr. Mitchell, Richard said, I want to give you something. He handed me a framed photo. It was from that Thanksgiving night. Someone had captured the moment, me kneeling beside Richard, performing CPR completely focused, surrounded by panicked guests. Below the photo was an inscription. Dr. Sarah Mitchell, the physician who remembered that character is defined by what we do when no one important is watching. Thank you for saving my life, and thank you for teaching me how to live. Richard Hale. I don't know what to say, I whispered. Say you'll run this place, be the medical director, make sure it lives up to Marcus's legacy, make sure we treat people the way you treated me, with dignity, skill, and compassion. Will you do it? I looked at Elena. She was crying, smiling, nodding. I looked at Dr. Peters, who'd fought for me when no one else would. I looked at the facility, beautiful, functional, ready to serve. Yes, I said, I'll do it, for Marcus, for every patient who's been dismissed, for everyone who's been invisible. This is going to change lives. The crowd erupted in applause. After the ceremony, I gave tours, showing people the exam rooms, the surgical suite, the pharmacy, the pediatric wing painted with murals of Marcus's favorite children's books. One woman approached me, late 50s, wearing a faded coat, nervous. Dr. Mitchell? I'm sorry to bother you. I just wanted to say, I saw the news last year about what happened, and I wanted you to know it gave me hope. I was a teacher. I reported a principal for stealing school funds. They fired me, said I was insubordinate. I haven't been able to get another teaching job in 2 years. Everyone says I'm blacklisted. Your story made me realize I'm not alone. That maybe I can fight back too. I took her hand. What's your name? Patricia. Patricia Gomez. Patricia, you're not alone, not anymore. The Hale Foundation has a legal defense fund for whistleblowers. They help with appeals, license reinstatements, legal fees. Let me connect you with them. You're a teacher. Kids need you. Don't let one corrupt principal take that from you. She started crying. You'd do that? You don't even know me. I know enough. You did the right thing. You told the truth. You shouldn't be punished for that. Let me help. I introduced her to Margaret, who took her information and promised to connect her with the foundation's lawyers. Patricia hugged me before leaving. Thank you. Thank you for not forgetting what it's like, for still caring about people like me. I'll never forget, I promised. Never. That evening, after the opening reception ended, Elena and I stood in the empty clinic, looking at Marcus's name on the wall. Dad would have loved this, Elena said. He would have cried, then made jokes about it, then gotten to work treating patients. You know how he was. Do you think he knows, somehow, that this exists because of you? I don't know, baby. I hope so. But whether he knows or not, his legacy continues. Kids will get treated here who otherwise wouldn't. That's what he wanted. That's what he spent his life doing. So in a way, he's still practicing medicine. Through this place. Through you when you become a doctor. Through every life we save because of his example. That's beautiful. Mom, it's true. Your father taught me that medicine isn't just science. It's compassion, it's showing up. It's remembering that every patient is someone's child, someone's parent, someone's beloved. That's what made him a great doctor. That's what I want this place to be. We stood in silence for a moment. Then Elena said, Mom, I have a confession. What? Last year, when Mr. Hale humiliated you at that party, I wanted him to die. I know that's terrible, but I was so angry at him for how he treated you, and when I heard he'd collapsed, my first thought was good. I'm not proud of that, but I wanted you to know. I pulled her close. You're human, Elena. Being angry at someone who hurt your mother, that's normal, that's love. But what matters is what we do with that anger. Do we let it consume us? Or do we use it to fuel something better? I chose better, and I'm glad I did, not just because I saved his life, but because it proved something to me, that I could lose everything and still be the person I wanted to be, that circumstances don't define character, choices do. You're the strongest person I know. No, baby, I'm just stubborn, and I had a good teacher. Your father showed me that being a doctor isn't about prestige or money or respect. It's about showing up, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. That's what I did that night. I showed up, that's all. That's everything, Mom. That's everything. We locked up the clinic and walked to our car. 1 year ago, I'd been a janitor at a Thanksgiving party. Tonight, I was the medical director of a free clinic that would serve thousands. The universe has a sense of humor. And justice. And occasionally, when we need it most, grace. I'd lost everything for telling the truth. And somehow, impossibly, I'd gained something better. Not just my career back. Not just vindication. But proof that kindness matters more than cruelty, that character is defined by what we do when no one's watching, that the janitor might save your life, and that sometimes the people we dismiss are exactly the people we need most. Richard Hale learned that lesson the hard way. I hope the rest of the world learns it easier, but either way, I'll keep showing up, as Dr. Sarah Mitchell, trauma surgeon, janitor when I had to be, doctor always. That's who I am. That's who I'll always be. 2 years after that Thanksgiving, I was invited to speak at the American Medical Association's annual conference, 5,000 physicians, from every specialty, every state, every type of practice. The topic? Ethics in medicine, when doing right costs everything. I almost said no. I'm a surgeon, not a speaker. I save lives in operating rooms, not on stages. But Dr. Peters convinced me. Sarah, there are thousands of medical students, residents, and young doctors who need to hear your story. They need to know that doing the right thing is worth it, even when it costs everything, even when it destroys your career. They need to see proof that integrity still matters, that you can survive whistleblowing, that the system doesn't always win. Be that proof. So I said yes. And on a Friday morning in Chicago, I walked onto a stage in front of 5,000 doctors and told them my story. I told them about discovering Medicare fraud, about reporting it, about being falsely accused and losing my license. I told them about working as a janitor, about being invisible, about cleaning toilets while my daughter studied pre-med and I pretended I was fine. I told them about Richard Hale's party, about the humiliation, about being thrown out. And I told them about running back when he collapsed, about choosing to save his life despite having every reason to walk away. I want to be clear about something, I said to the silent audience. I didn't save Richard Hale's life because I'm a saint. I'm not. I was angry, I was hurt. Part of me wanted to let karma take its course, but I'm a doctor, and doctors save lives. It's not about deserving, it's not about judgment. It's about skill and oath and showing up when people need you. The Hippocratic Oath doesn't say, first do no harm, unless they hurt your feelings. It doesn't say, save lives, except for people who've been cruel. It just says, save lives. That's the job, that's the calling, that's what we signed up for. But here's what I learned from those 2 years of hell. The system will betray you. Administrators will lie. Powerful people will retaliate. Whistleblowers often get punished more than the people they expose. That's the reality. And I'm not going to stand here and tell you it's easy. It's not. It nearly destroyed me. But I also learned this. Character is permanent. Titles are temporary. I lost my medical license, but I never stopped being a doctor. Because being a doctor isn't about paperwork. It's about who you are when no one important is watching. It's about what you do when doing the right thing costs everything. And yes, I got my license back. Yes, I'm practicing again. Yes, there's a clinic with my husband's name that serves thousands. Yes, Richard Hale completely transformed his foundation and his life. It's a happy ending. But not every whistleblower gets a happy ending. Some lose everything and never get it back. Some die before justice comes. Some watch their careers burn while the people they exposed thrive. That's the risk, that's the cost. So why do it? Why report fraud when you know it might destroy you? Because patients matter more than careers. Because honesty matters more than comfort. Because the oath we took means something. Because if we, the doctors, the healers, the people trusted with lives, if we won't stand up for what's right, who will? I'm asking each of you to think about that. About what you'd do if you discovered fraud in your hospital, if you saw a colleague harming patients, if you witnessed corruption that endangered lives. Would you report it, even knowing it might cost you everything, even knowing the system probably won't protect you, even knowing you might end up exactly where I was, losing your license, working minimum wage, watching your daughter cry because you can't afford her dream? I hope you would. I hope you're stronger than I was. I hope you're braver. But if you're not, I understand. Because courage isn't free, integrity has a price, and not everyone can afford to pay it. All I ask is this: if you see something wrong, don't look away. If you can't report it yourself, find someone who can. If you're too scared to be the whistleblower, be the witness. Be the support. Be the person who backs up the truth teller when they're being destroyed. Because change doesn't happen when one brave person stands up. It happens when enough people decide that protecting the brave is worth the risk. We're doctors, we save lives, that's what we do. Sometimes the lives we save are in operating rooms, and sometimes they're in boardrooms, courtrooms, and ethics hearings. Both matter. Both are medicine. Both are our responsibility. Thank you. The room erupted in applause. Standing ovation. 5,000 doctors on their feet. I saw residents crying. Young doctors nodding, older physicians looking guilty, probably thinking about times they'd looked away. Afterward, I was mobbed. Doctors wanting to tell me their stories, whistleblowers who'd lost everything, medical students terrified of a system that punishes honesty, administrators promising to do better. One young woman, maybe 25, still in residency, grabbed my hand. Dr. Mitchell, I witnessed a surgeon operate drunk last month. I reported it to my program director. He told me to keep quiet, that it would ruin the department's reputation. Now I'm being isolated. No one will work with me. My evaluations have suddenly gotten terrible. I think I'm going to be fired. What do I do? I pulled her aside, away from the crowd. What's your name? Dr. Amy Liu, second-year surgical resident at Northwestern. Dr. Liu, first, you did the right thing. A drunk surgeon is a lawsuit and a patient death waiting to happen. You protected people. That matters. Second, document everything. Every negative evaluation. Every instance of retaliation. Every comment made about you. Keep detailed records. Third, contact the Hale Foundation. They have legal support for medical whistleblowers. They'll help you fight this. And fourth, don't quit. I know it's hard. I know you're scared. But if you quit, they win. And the next time that surgeon operates drunk, someone might die. Don't let that happen. What if I lose my residency? I've got $300,000 in student loans. I'll never be a surgeon. Then you'll be a doctor in a different specialty, or you'll practice elsewhere, or you'll do something else in medicine. But you won't be a person who stayed silent while patients were endangered. That's worth more than any career. Trust me, I lived it. She hugged me, crying. Thank you. Thank you for making me feel less alone. You're not alone. None of us are. That's what I learned. There's an entire community of people who chose integrity over comfort. We're small, we get punished, but we exist, and we back each other up. Remember that. That night, Richard Hale hosted a private dinner for conference speakers. I almost didn't go, but Elena insisted. Mom, he flew here specifically to see you speak. And he's bringing someone he wants you to meet. Go. I'll survive one night without you. So I went. The restaurant was elegant. Small private room, 10 people, Richard and Margaret, Dr. Peters, Dr. Martinez, a few others I didn't recognize. Richard stood when I entered. Dr. Mitchell, thank you for coming. I want you to meet someone. This is Senator Patricia Hawkins. A woman in her 60s extended her hand. I recognized her, powerful senator, healthcare committee chair. Dr. Mitchell, I was in the audience today when your speech was extraordinary, and it reminded me why I went into politics, to fix broken systems. I'd like to introduce legislation protecting medical whistleblowers, federal protections, mandatory investigations, penalties for retaliation, but I need doctors willing to testify, willing to share their stories publicly. Would you do that? I sat down slowly. Senator, I appreciate the intention, but testifying before Congress, putting my story on the record, that makes me public forever. I'm finally getting my life back. Do I really want to be the whistleblower doctor for the rest of my career? No, she said honestly. You don't. It'll follow you forever. People will always know your story. Some will admire you. Others will see you as a troublemaker. It'll affect your career, your opportunities, your peace. I won't lie to you. Being the face of whistleblower protection isn't easy. Then why are you asking me to do it? Because someone has to. And you have something most whistleblowers don't, a happy ending. You got your license back, you're practicing again, you've got credibility. If you testify, people will listen. And maybe we can change the system so the next Dr. Sarah Mitchell doesn't have to clean toilets for 2 years while fighting to clear her name. I looked at Richard. What do you think? I think you've already sacrificed enough. You don't owe anyone anything. But I also think you're the kind of person who'll do it anyway. Because you can't help yourself, because you care too much, because saving lives isn't just about surgery, it's about fixing broken systems. So I think you'll say yes. And I think I'll respect whatever you decide. I looked at Dr. Peters. Your choice, Sarah. No judgment either way. You've earned the right to live quietly, but you'd also be brilliant at this. You'd change policy, save future whistleblowers, make the system better. It's up to you. I thought about Patricia Gomez, the teacher who'd been blacklisted for reporting theft, about Dr. Amy Liu, the resident being punished for protecting patients, about all the people who'd told me their stories after my speech. If I testify, I want something in return. Senator Hawkins nodded. Name it. Not just legislation, real enforcement, federal funding for whistleblower legal defense, protection from retaliation, a streamlined process for license reinstatement, and I looked at Richard. I want the Hale Foundation model scaled nationally. Free clinics attached to hospitals in every state, funded by billionaires who want to actually help instead of just looking generous. Can you make that happen? Richard and the senator exchanged glances. Yes, they said together. Then I'll do it. I'll testify. I'll be the face of whatever legislation you're creating. I'll tell my story as many times as needed. But we're doing this right. We're actually changing things. Deal? Deal, Senator Hawkins said. We shook hands. And just like that, my quiet life was over. But maybe that was okay. Because quiet wasn't what I was built for. I was built to save lives. In operating rooms, and apparently in congressional hearings, the universe has a strange sense of humor. If you're listening to this story, you might wonder what the point is. Is it about revenge? About a janitor saving the life of someone who humiliated her? Not really. Is it about justice? About a good person finally getting what she deserves? Partly, but it's bigger than that. The real lesson, the thing that matters, is this. Your title doesn't define you. Your character does. I was a doctor before I had a medical license. I was a doctor while cleaning toilets. I'm a doctor now. The paperwork changed. I didn't. Richard Hale was cruel when he was powerful. He's kind now. The heart attack didn't change who he was. His choice to be better did. The janitor at your office might be a former CEO. The waitress at your restaurant might be a lawyer fighting to clear her name. The person cleaning your hospital floors might be the surgeon who saves your life. You don't know people's stories. You don't know what they've lost, what they've survived, what they're capable of. So treat everyone with dignity, not because they might secretly be important, but because dignity is what every human deserves. That's the lesson. That's what Richard learned when he woke up from cardiac arrest and realized the woman he'd mocked had saved his life. That's what I learned during 2 years of invisibility. That being seen doesn't require others to recognize you. It requires you to remember who you are, regardless of who's watching. People ask me, are you angry about what happened? About losing 2 years of your career? Sometimes. But I'm also grateful. Because those 2 years taught me things medical school never could. I learned what it means to be invisible. to be dismissed, to be treated as less than. I learned that titles are temporary, but skill is permanent. I learned that integrity costs everything and is worth it. I learned that saving lives isn't about deserving, it's about showing up when you're needed, even when it hurts, even when you're angry, even when the person dying is the person who tried to destroy you. That's what doctors do. We save lives, always. Elena is in college now, pre-med at Harvard, following in her father's footsteps, following in mine. She'll be a brilliant doctor, not because of her grades or her intelligence, but because she understands something most people don't. That medicine is about seeing people, all people, equally, completely. The Marcus Mitchell Memorial Wing serves over 300 patients a day now. We've treated over 50,000 people in 2 years. People without insurance, people who'd been invisible, people who needed someone to see them. We see them. Every single one. Richard Hale is healthy, happy, genuinely transformed. He volunteers at the clinic once a week, not for publicity, not for tax write-offs, because he wants to, because he understands now what he didn't then, that serving people is more fulfilling than being served. And me? I'm Dr. Sarah Mitchell, trauma surgeon, whistleblower, former janitor, future congressional witness. I'm exactly who I've always been, just with more stories, more scars, more proof that you can lose everything and still be yourself. That character is permanent even when circumstances change. That the person you dismiss might be the person who saves your life. That's the story. That's the truth. Remember it. Because someday, you might be the billionaire at the party, or you might be the janitor no one sees. Either way, remember, everyone matters. Everyone has worth. Everyone deserves dignity. Treat people accordingly. You never know when you might need them to save your life. And if my story moved you at all, like it, share it, and subscribe for even more amazing and heartfelt stories like this one. See you in my next one.